It's the government that took a quarter of the Canadian population into poverty, and they're going soon.
Okay.
They will not be at a theater near you anytime soon.
Hail and welcome to today, where the previous video, not yesterday, but the other one, I went over Danielle Smith going to Mar-a-Lago and talking with Trump and how that was a good thing. And I also went slightly over a video of Kevin O'Leary talking about building a union, or a union for the economy, rather than connecting the two countries, just connecting the economy so that Canadians can keep the citizenship of being a Canadian. And he was also talking about a uni passport, or just a passport between America and Canada. And that was in that video, that was kind of just like a little thing that I brought up because he went along with Danielle Smith. So clearly they had a conversation of some sort. And I just put that in there because I thought it was poignant to that. However, he has recently been talking more about that, and also been talking more about the union or uni passport. He makes note of the uni passport. Now the word uni has nothing to do with like the European Union, but uni is just a term he made up or something. Don't know. But he talks about that in the second clip I'm gonna show. The first clip I'm gonna show is actually of Kevin talking about Danielle talking to Trump, and how that is a very good thing, and how she is doing it is a very good thing. So let us watch that now.
You just met with President Trump and a Canadian government official. I would never ask you to violate a confidential conversation, but is there anything you can tell us that came from that meeting?
Well, it's out in the public now. That was the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith. She is one of the most pragmatic politicians on earth. Her relationship with Trump is unique. Alberta, that province in Canada, has more oil and gas than all of America, and is in fact one of the largest trading partners on earth with the United States. $188 billion worth of energy flows from Alberta into the US to the refineries. It's shipped all over the world afterwards, and even some of it comes back up to Canada. As she likes to put it, and I think she's really getting ahead of the narrative, very smart of her, to say, look, we're in a long-term marriage with the people of the United States. We're not dating, we're married. Sometimes couples have some problems. They get into a little tiff, but because they've been married forever, they work it out. And she's so far ahead of other Canadian politicians, because she came down to Mar-a-Lago last night. I was lucky enough to join her. As she worked the room, she met many of the cabinet members. They're glad to see her. They know her well. She is a conservative. She's part of the red wave that's flowing through Canada right now, the conservative wave that kicked out Idiot King, Justin Trudeau. And he's gone, so what he said doesn't matter, and Trump understands that. And all those liberal politicians that went to see him, gone. I think it's a good outcome that she did. She's smart.
And I think Kevin O'Leary is completely right in talking about how it is very smart that Danielle Smith went out and did this. Her being the only premier to go out and talk with Trump during this cacophony that is building up. It is very wise that she is doing that in the diplomacy between America and Canada, and the trade that happens between. It is very smart that she went out and talked. And if she talked, if what Kevin is saying, that what Danielle said, then Danielle is speaking very wisely with Trump about the relationship between the two countries. She is talking very wise about it. Now, in the next clip I'm going to be showing is Kevin talking about the uni passport, and also talking about getting rid of all the tariffs, as well as the unionship between the two economies. So let us get into that now.
So separate countries, but a single currency.
Yes, well, that's just one idea. We start there, okay? Because I don't see any problem with that. There's no sovereignty issue. Nobody's selling anything to anybody, but we're joining many countries, and many commodities are denominated by the US dollar. It's the most liquid currency on earth. Number two, Tariffs. We don't want any tariffs. I don't want tariffs. Tariffs are a negotiating tool. I don't want tariffs north-south, but I don't want them east-west either. And that's one of the things that's frustrated the U.S. We want to sell our goods to people in Vermont, vice versa. I want to be able to buy wine from British Columbia and Ontario when I'm there. Can't do it. So all of these tariffs have to come down, and it becomes one giant union of free-flowing goods and services. Far more productive, way better. We'd be a behemoth economy. Behemoth. Nobody could compete with us, including China, who everybody in Canada should worry about. Third idea floating around, I've just nicknamed it the uni, but you can call it anything you want. This may be where people thought it had something to do with the European Union, but basically any Canadian with a passport, Canadian citizen in good standing with his government, his or her government, or same in the U.S., a citizen with a U.S. passport in good standing, could apply for a uni. Either government would have a veto right, so they both have to agree who gets these. Whoever gets a uni, free access to any state or province at one tax rate, let's say 21%, no deductions. Free flow across the border anytime you want with a uni, but it's better than that. The uni could be used to control immigration. Here's what we do in Canada. We invite a bunch of students to Waterloo for micro-robotics, the most coveted degree on earth, and we throw half of them out of the country after they graduate. How stupid is that? They come in with a uni. We do a background check. We make sure we're inviting them in, or people we want to have live in Canada, give them the uni citizenship. They can create a company in Waterloo or anywhere else after they graduate. They don't have to leave with all that knowledge and all the money we spent giving them that knowledge. Same thing with MIT. The uni controls who comes in.
It is odd. He's talking about Canada should be worried about China, and I agree with him. But it is very odd as to how three things that are trending in Canada, the one thing I saw earlier, it's not showing right now, but the three things that were trending in Canada, specifically, it is noted, trending in Canada, is TikTok, Red Note, and the name of the app that I don't know how to pronounce. All three of those were trending in Canada. Canada should be worried about China. Canada should be worried about that, and yet, how is it trending in Canada? That's a misalignment that is happening here, and a scary misalignment that is happening. But to talk more about what he was talking about, I absolutely agree with what he's talking about. Joining our economies and getting rid of all the tariffs, because why are the tariffs there in the first place? From the east and the west, the north and south, that one's blatantly obvious as to why that is happening right now. But why the east and west? Why are those tariffs kind of happening? I just don't know. I genuinely don't know. Why are they there? Why should they still be there? Perhaps even. And I also he talked about this in the previous video, how it is very attractive to hear about a uni passport, and I absolutely agree. Not having to go out of my way to get an American passport to go to America, but rather just be in good standing with the government, that sounds very attractive. I like that idea. That sounds very good. If we can get them both on the same line here, and we can do that, that sounds really good, and I like that. It's great for trade, it is great for the economy, it is just great in general, especially for Canada. And yeah, I just agree with that. But let's get to why you guys are probably here for, which is the smackdown that happens between Kevin and a CBC news host. It is entertaining to see the immediate smackdown that just happens there.
When there was a majority mandate by Trudeau, and he had it in the first mandate, Butts put all the policy in place.
Sure.
Danielle Smith had to litigate that policy in October 2023 to get me to bring back $70 billion.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just really have to notice the news host is speaking very quick, very short. He doesn't want to entertain Kevin at all in what he's saying. He is doing that, he is planning his next speech rather than listening, which is very problematic in the sense of growth, human growth in politics. They are thinking about their next topic rather than thinking about what he is actually saying and listening to it.
Danielle Smith had to litigate that policy in October 2023 to get me to bring back $70 billion into Canada. Gerald Butts is the antichrist of Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, look, Mr. Butts is a private citizen now. He's not in public life. He does not control the government. He hasn't been since. So anyway, but I want to move on.
Wait a second. Isn't he backing the Liberal leadership right now? Didn't I hear Carney is going to bring him in behind him?
Well,
that's an unholy union.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I wonder if to pick up on something Danielle Smith said today, because you are a fan of the Alberta Premier. She came away from this meeting with President Trump. I'm not sure exactly how long it lasted, but she feels a tariff hit of some sort is inevitable next week. Is that your view of it from having spoken to the president-elect?
I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen next week. If you were to say to me, this is number one on Trump's agenda to tariff Canada, I would say that's not the case. These moves are going to come through after he's president. Everything we've seen so far is on a personal basis at his home. And she was wise enough to spend not 1 day, 2 days. That woman knows how to work a room. I can report that to you. She's very smart at that. And my goodness, she scored a lot of points with a lot of different people in the cabinet.
Right, but the situation still is, Mr. O'Leary. You're a Canadian citizen, and this is economic Armageddon if these tariffs come in, as you well know. Unemployment is going to go through the roof. Economic growth is going to go down. Provincial governments.
I appreciate you saying that, but neither of us know. We just don't know. You've got to wait. My point is, wouldn't you rather have your adversary's cell phone number on speed dial? I would.
No, look,
only one. The only one in Canada that was smart enough to go and meet him.
Well, I mean, Prime Minister Trudeau and Dominic LeBlanc did go have dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago, right?
Excuse me. Let me just make I asked Trump to ignore those meetings because those people are going to get eradicated in the next election. And I hope he took my advice. Stop wasting your time with Trudeau and any of the cabinet. They're going to get eradicated.
But
I did that personally. That was on me.
Understood. But it is the government we have at this point in time. With a week to go until the inauguration and possibly the implementation of tariffs. So you're saying it is unclear to you if he's going to do this.
What I told Trump was it's the government that took a quarter of the Canadian population into poverty, and they're going soon.
Okay.
They will not be at a theater near you anytime soon.
Okay, but for the next week, they're there, Mr. O'Leary, right? And this is the deadline for the tariffs, right? Because if you take Donald Trump by his statement that
My point
day
is
one...
You don't know that.
Kevin brings up an interesting point here, which I'm gonna bring up because he did have a conversation with Trump. Kevin says, you don't know that. What does that necessarily mean? What does Kevin know that we don't? Or, moreover, what is he trying to point out by bringing this up? I think what he's trying to bring up is how the legacy media is just trying to cause fear, worry. He's trying to cause that by continuously saying it, talking about it, and so on and so forth, which I don't know is necessarily wrong, but at the same time, it is just fear-mongering. So it's not necessarily good either. I think it's going to be actually very interesting what all unfolds on the 20th in the very near future. I think it'll be interesting because if Kevin is saying we don't know that, does he know something that he just isn't gonna say? Potentially, but potentially not, because he is saying we don't know that. So I think it is interesting to dive into that one with your mind, but I'm not gonna do that here because that's not really the point. The point is he completely demolished this person who I don't know his name, but like. He is constantly talking about, Trudeau went and talked with Trump. Yeah, well, we've seen the photos of that conversation, and Trudeau did not look anywhere near to what a strong leader is. So, if Trump is going to take Trudeau's meeting with him and blanket statement all Canadians with what Trudeau is, then that is not a good meeting. Not a good meeting at all. Danielle Smith, being wise and speaking properly, gave us a much better name than Trudeau ever did. Much better name. And Danielle Smith makes me proud to be a Canadian. Trudeau does not make me proud to be a Canadian. That is to say. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see what happened with Danielle Smith. I'm interested to see what happens within Alberta and the trade agreement going on there. I'm also interested to see what the future is for all of Canada. And so, I guess it's more or less just a waiting game here, but the more things unfold, the more things become a lot more interesting, a lot more actually attractive in nature, because that uni passport sounds amazing. And getting rid of all tariffs sounds amazing as well. And connecting our economies together, that sounds amazing. All of those things sound amazing. But will they be amazing? Guess that is for us to see if that ever actually goes through. But yeah, anyway, I hope to see you in the next video. But until then, have a good one.